Hello and welcome back to Between the Panels. Our next segment, the Essential Spectre. So, Spectre, we talked about comic book deaths earlier. This guy's got 3 different alter egos.
I'd like to talk about Jim
Corrigan.
Jim Corrigan, hard-boiled 1930s detective, right? So how he dies. We're just gonna go to how he dies because that's how the Spectre just inhabits his body. He was pursuing a couple gangsters, a bunch of gangsters or something along. He was pursuing bad guys. They turn on him and kill him. Well, first they throw him in a barrel, fill the barrel with cement, and then throw it in a river. And that's how he dies. And
Not that that should ever stop a superhero.
But his soul goes to the afterlife, and he's turned away to fight as the Spectre, or the Angel of Death, pretty much.
Because he has a pure soul is God's argument, but the way they phrase it in the story is an unknown entity. So, but we assume it's God because you learn later Spectre is responsible for certain things, as killing the firstborn Egyptian son.
Yep.
And his counterpart, who turns out to be his enemy, is responsible for the flooding in Egypt. So we're assuming he's this almighty being. He's actually one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, with powers such as super strength, tangibility, invisibility, and he has a thing that's it's like the penance stare of the Ghost Rider, if you know what I'm saying out there. And
of course.
He can see the sins of other people, but he needs a human host in order to judge those sins effectively. So he's like God's will on earth.
At one point, he actually goes to this island nation. I forget the name of the nation, but he goes there because it's racked by civil war, death, destruction, hatred, all the time. The war ends, and then it just erupts again. He wipes out the whole island. He's like, you're all guilty. Doesn't matter, boy, girl, child, adult. Just wipes out the island from the map. Just like, you're gone.
Like the Croatoan disease, I believe that's what it's called. You both read a comic book, but you don't pick up the Bible every once in a while. It's good reading. It's a bathroom reader.
It is my Bible.
It is my Bible.
It's
what I'm referring to is that what it reminds me of is there's a disease that is referenced in the Bible. When did this show get that deep? There's a disease referenced in the Bible that just tends to wipe out entire societies if it is believed that those societies are deemed impure, or if they are inhabited by a demon or the devil. So I imagine this to be the author's take on very biblical references, although I'm sure if I flip back to like John 3:16 or whatever reference that is, it will not say, and the Spectre shall kill thou firstborn child, and then his enemy thou flood.
And the onomatopoeia biff shall appear.
How do you feel about that in general? Like, how do you feel about a presence of religion being in a comic book?
It's
not that Superman was not written to be like Jesus, but
it's interesting to see how they play with how gods among men react to God.
What do you think about that?
Well, they do a similar thing in, I really like the quote they use in Watchmen when Dr. Manhattan first appears, and he's like, the God exists and he is American. And, which I think is really cool, because you play with this Superman, you talk about Superman, Dr. Manhattan, and now the Spectre, but he's this lesser known person where they've been playing with religion for years, in my opinion. It's just never come out because it's such a touchy subject. And I think, they have like Phantom Stranger, who's, his own thing, and he's another entity of God or whatever. And, when they do Ghost Rider, we mentioned, with the Hellblaze and everything, all that. I think it's okay to do religion. You just have to be really careful about it, because it's going to offend some people, and it might turn other people off.
And who died that everybody knows that became the relative new Spectre?
Ryan Reynolds? No.
Close enough.
Good
guess. Hal
Jordan.
When he was the Parallax.
Yes, that whole saga, he becomes Spectre after his whole ordeal with Parallax.
So he just doesn't just die. He comes back to fight more. So just like Jim Corrigan, he is turned away from heaven and is like, no, your work is not done. Go fight more evil and have more pain.
Because the Spectre seeks out souls who are looking for redemption. And after his whole deal with the Parallax, Hal Jordan is defeated he's looking for a way out, and this is his way to go, and the whole thing with the Black Lanterns and all that good stuff that happens with him, but he ends up dying. Jim Corrigan comes back.
Essentially, nobody's dead.
If you die a really particularly horrible death, you become the Spectre, and then you have to fight a bunch more evil stuff
forever.
So don't panic when you're stuffed in a barrel at any point. All right, that's the end of Between the Panels on this week's segment. We hope you join us next week for our next episode. We will be talking more of your favorite subject about comic books and graphic novels. Watch The Walking Dead this weekend because I'm obsessed with it. And we hope you have a good week. Godspeed.